Funding for Schaefer-Ellis is provided by Surfshark VPN. Tune until the end to find out about their amazing service. Oddly enough, the morning I woke up with this video idea was the exact same morning Nintendo announced this English localization of the first Fire Emblem game. So, that's destiny, no doubt about it. Time for the video I was destined to make about Fire Emblem's representation in Smash, and why I mostly like it. Mostly.
Explain yourself!
You see, many Smash Bros. Fans love to complain about this obscure Japanese weeb shit franchise getting more fighter representation than most of Nintendo's most popular and beloved franchises, like Zelda, Metroid, Kirby, Donkey Kong, and so on and so forth. On its own, that's an incredibly valid complaint. I love Fire Emblem, and even I feel the same way about the imbalance in franchise representation. The problem, however, is how vitriolic and excessive the hatred for anything Fire Emblem related has become. The haters are absolutely vicious when tearing into this franchise that many of them haven't even played at every opportunity.
Forgot about that one.
On the opposite end of the spectrum, Fire Emblem fans were particularly obnoxious when Byleth, the most controversial newcomer in Smash Ultimate by a landslide, was first announced, spamming this fucking terrible hose mad image right here. Like, Three Houses is one of my favorite games ever, and I still wanted these people to shut the hell up. I feel like the hatred for Byleth was honestly kinda warranted, and yet it wasn't actually Byleth's fault. But we'll get to that later. So yeah, my official stance is Fire Emblem is one of my favorite Nintendo franchises, and even I think the imbalance of character representation in Smash is ridiculous. However, that's the key word here. Imbalance. Not the actual number of Fire Emblem fighters, but the ratio between them and other popular franchises. I actually think 8 Fire Emblem fighters is a great, warranted amount given how many games this series consists of and how each game is structured in terms of story and setting. So let's get into a little of that, but before we do, let's clear something up real quick. Fire Emblem doesn't actually have 8 fighters in Smash. It has 6. Yeah, did you guys forget this little term Sakurai invented so you would stop complaining about clones potentially stealing slots from other characters? Chrom and Lucina are Echo fighters that did not take much effort to develop. They are bonuses who clearly took less work to implement than some of the other Echoes like Dark Samus or Ken. They don't have their own numbered slot in the roster, and there's even an option to stack them below the fighter they're based on. They shouldn't be given the same weight as the other Fire Emblem fighters in this discussion. So who are our 6 original characters? Marth, Ike, Roy, Robin, Corrin, and Byleth. An assortment of lords and ladies from 6 different games in the franchise's history. The thing about Fire Emblem is that most of the games aren't connected whatsoever, kinda like Final Fantasy or Persona. Sometimes an individual game gets a sequel, like how Ike first appeared in Path of Radiance and his story continued into Radiant Dawn. But for the most part, each Fire Emblem game is its own self-contained story. And each self-contained story has its own unique hero. This is something Nintendo rarely ever implements in their long-running franchises. You play a Mario game, you're playing as Mario, bada boom. Metroid, you got Samus, congrats. Kirby, that's the name of the protagonist in every Kirby game.
You forgot the
TDD game!
He's Kirby. From Kirby's Dream Land in '92 to Kirby Star Allies in 2018, the protagonist is Kirby, and he is represented. Fire Emblem, meanwhile, can't just add in Marth and call it a day. He was only the protagonist of 2 old-ass games and their remakes, leaving 12 other Fire Emblem games completely unrepresented. The Fire Emblem characters added to Smash aren't just a wide array of side characters, they all represent different stories that would go completely unrepresented otherwise, even if they are all from the same franchise. The only game that gets multiple reps is Fire Emblem Awakening, and only because of the 2 Echo fighters, Lucina and Chrom, who aren't even side characters. They, along with Robin, make up a trio of main protagonists. Is it a little excessive to have 3 characters from one game represented? Sure. But again, gameplay-wise, Echoes don't make a huge difference. And Awakening is arguably the most important Fire Emblem to date, given its status as the franchise's savior. Before I move on, let me address the other franchises with the same each game is a different story status as Fire Emblem. Zelda, Mother, and Xenoblade. We're not counting third parties since their criteria for inclusion is wildly different and more restrictive than that of first parties. So, Mother. It only has 3 games. 2 of those games are represented through their protagonists, and the game that's not represented is just a shittier version of one that is represented. Don't at me. It would be cool to get Ninten as an Echo fighter, but as a whole, Mother has more than enough representation given its size. Xenoblade also has 3 games, and it's a modern, ongoing franchise with only 1 fighter representing the first game. Yes, Xenoblade totally deserves Rex and Pyra as fighters, and I would be pretty happy if they were added as DLC. However, Xenoblade is not nearly as long-running or prolific as Fire Emblem yet, and it's understandable why it hasn't gotten the representation it deserves yet. Still though, DLC. Make it happen.
Okay, we did do that.
And finally, The Legend of Zelda. While its stage and item representation is immensely satisfying, it's always had a bit of a character problem, and this could honestly be its own video topic. Even though Sakurai is incredibly hesitant to add iconic side characters from the franchise, Ultimate at least did a great job of representing nearly every major facet of the franchise through the fighter designs. Ocarina and Majora, Wind Waker, Link to the Past, Breath of the Wild, everyone is here. Except Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, but the former did get 2 whole Smash games to themselves, and the latter is Skyward Sword.
Ooh, let's say that you only...
Anyway though, let's compare Zelda and Fire Emblem for a second here. People always like to say that Fire Emblem is overrepresented, but I obviously disagree. Not counting the remakes, there are 13 main Fire Emblem games, 2 of which are direct continuations of a previous game, those being Mystery of the Emblem and Radiant Dawn, which continue Marth and Ike's stories respectively. So we basically have 11 different stories that need their protagonists represented, and we get 6 of those, a little over half. That really doesn't sound that unreasonable to me. Now look at Zelda. The protagonist here is always Link, be it an adult Link, a young version of Link, or a cartoon Link. Here they all are. Right off the bat, you've represented basically every protagonist in the franchise, and like I said earlier, you hit some other major representation beats with Link to the Past Zelda and Ocarina of Time Ganondorf. There's only 2 Zelda games that don't feel represented through the fighters, compared to Fire Emblem's 5. And Zelda at least gets those games represented through stages. Have you ever considered how much Fire Emblem stage selection blows? Cause, ugh, it really blows. Of course, fighters are what really matter the most, and considering Zelda's my favorite franchise of all time, do you think I'm happy about its representation in Smash? Of course not. There's so many Zelda side characters that define their games and could be represented. Midna, Impa, Skull Kid, Girahim, Tingle, come on Sakurai, give me more than just Sheik. I'll even take Echo fighters, like Impa would make a great Echo of Sheik, Hilda could easily be swapped in for Zelda, Demise could take over for Ganondorf. Just do for The Legend of Zelda what you did for Fire Emblem. And there lies the main problem. Fire Emblem gets these excellent fan-servicey bonuses in the form of Lucina and Chrom, when other franchises are kinda left out to dry when they could have easily gotten the same attention. Not only are there tons of Zelda side characters that are iconic and easy to implement, but look at poor Donkey Kong. He did all that legwork for Nintendo in the 90s, and what does he have to show for it? How hard would it be to add Dixie, who actually starred in her own DK game, as a Ken-like echo of Diddy? How hard would it be to add Funky Kong, who's basically an echo of Donkey Kong and Tropical Freeze itself? How about Galactonite or Dark Meta Knight for Kirby? They'd be fun, easy bonuses. Everyone wants Alph as an echo, but why stop with him? Every Pikmin captain would fundamentally play the same, so just give us Louie, the President, Brittany, and Charlie as ults. You can resize them, it worked for the Kooplings, which is great because Mario didn't have enough characters. This is a joke, by the way. I think Mario deserves that many reps and the Kooplings were implemented in a really cool and clever way. Just use that cleverness for a franchise that needs it. And Metroid... Honestly, I love Metroid, but you can stop here. There's no one else who deserves to be in. But I think you get my point.
You get it!
While I appreciate all the attention Fire Emblem gets, I feel like maybe it is worth sacrificing some of that attention to make sure other franchises feel as well represented through really simple additions that wouldn't take a whole lot of work to implement. I mean, literally, how hard is it to add an Octoling ult? Come on. I think this leads pretty well into another point that Fire Emblem detractors love to bring up. Lack of moveset variety. Mario and Pokemon obviously have a ton of representation, but there's also a lot of variety in their characters' movesets. Despite how unique Robin, Corrin, and Byleth feel, there's an argument that the Fire Emblem characters all play the same, and thus don't deserve all these separate slots on the roster. Hey, wait a minute. 3 of the 6 Fire Emblem characters are generally agreed to have really unique movesets, and yet there's still an argument that they're all too samey? This is what happens when you forget what the entire purpose of an Echo Fighter is, fam. Pretend they're not even here. Now the only characters who feel too similar are Marth and Roy, which, yeah, of course they do. They were melee clones. So now we've got 2 similar, yet fairly unique from each other sword fighters, a heavy bruiser sword guy in the form of Ike, a mage with a unique weapon durability gimmick in the form of Robin, though I guess Steve also has that gimmick now, but let's not worry about that. A pointy dragonborn lord named Corrin, and a long-range lancer known to the world as Byleth. In what way are they samey outside of their actual character models, which aren't the fault of Smash? Is it cause they all use swords? They still feel distinct despite that. The fact that most of them have counters for a down special is lazy, yes, I'll give you that. But I think aside from Roy, who's a byproduct of Melee, and the Echo Fighters who are specifically designed to play similarly to other characters, everyone here is totally unique from a gameplay perspective, and their inclusion is warranted solely based on gameplay. Solely on gameplay. Yes, it's true that Smash gets a lot more mileage out of alternate skins that add more characters without having to tweak anything gameplay-wise, like with Hero, the Kooplings, or the Minecraft characters. Maybe it would have been preferable if Sakurai, knowing that Robin was being added to Smash 4, prioritized making Alf his own Echo Fighter over Lucina, just keeping her as a Marth skin. But at the end of the day, does it really matter that much? I adore Pikmin. I wish I could have gotten an Alpha Amiibo. I wish I could get some sweet, sweet serotonin from seeing 2 Pikmin slots in the Smash roster rather than just 1. But ultimately, I can still play as Alf. The announcer still calls his name. It genuinely does not matter to me that Lucina was given precedence over Alf during development. They're both in the game, so it's fine. The Fire Emblem roster may look bloated and samey, but it really isn't when you play as them, and when you remember what the purpose of an Echo Fighter is. I genuinely hardly ever see people complaining about Byleth or Corrin from a gameplay standpoint. I only see complaints about their very inclusion over other characters. And sure, once you open the floodgates to third-party characters, it's so easy to get disappointed by yet another Fire Emblem character making it in. Three Houses, as I said, is one of my favorite games ever, and even I was disappointed by Byleth. That's the final piece of the puzzle here. Timing.
Oh, that's real nice.
I feel like the times in which these characters were announced played a big role in the anger and frustration a lot of people felt over their inclusion. So let's do a quick time frame here. So Marth and Roy get added to Melee. No one in North America knows who they are, but they're pretty cool, so we like them. Brawl comes along. Marth is back, and Ike is also here. We miss Roy, but we like Ike, so it's fine. Smash 4. Everyone goes in expecting Ike to get cut and Chrom to replace him. Ike surprisingly returns, and everyone waits for Chrom. Lol, nope.
My lord, go f yourself.
Robin is in, which is a way cooler alternative we never really considered, and Lucina's also here as some sort of Marth clone. Nobody really complains, because of course Awakening was getting a rep. We just didn't expect it to be these two. But no prob, Bob.
It's Larry.
Roy gets revealed for DLC following Mewtwo and Lucas. Again, everyone's cool with this, even though 5 Fire Emblem fighters seems a bit excessive. Still, he's more of a Melee rep than a Fire Emblem rep. If Mewtwo is coming back, Roy's gotta come back too. Obviously. All that matters is that we stop here. But then, Corrin. We only got 4 DLC newcomers for Smash 4, 3 of which were cool third-party inclusions, and the other of which was Corrin. Not just another Fire Emblem rep, but a bad Fire Emblem rep. I'm going to be entirely honest with you. I hate Corrin. I've been suppressing it this whole video, but holy shit was Corrin such a bad decision for inclusion. I mean, it was great from a marketing perspective, which at the end of the day, Smash Bros. Is a product intended to promote Nintendo's franchises. Smash and Fire Emblem have always been uniquely linked in this regard, since Smash made Marth and Roy popular enough in the West for their Japan-only series to come over here. I personally got into the series because I played and loved the demo for Awakening, but I only bothered with that demo because I recognized the franchise's name from Smash. Corrin's inclusion was clearly meant as a promotional tool for Fire Emblem Fates, which hadn't even come out in the West yet. That's why I find their inclusion particularly phony.
Hey everybody! This guy's a great big phone!
I feel like Min Min's inclusion was also done for mainly commercial reasons, but at least ARMS had been out for a couple years before it happened. On top of the blatant commercialism of Corrin's inclusion, Fates ended up being a bad game. Like, laughably bad. I'm trying to write a video script about it, but I can't bring myself to finish Conquest because of how awful the story is. And that's not even the worst story out of the 3! Revelations is gonna be a delight to go through again. Many Fire Emblem fans tend to dislike both the game and Corrin as a character, so now we have someone in Smash who's hated by Fire Emblem fans for being an awful character, and hated by Smash fans for being a Fire Emblem character. Yikes! I remember the vitriol being kinda strong for Corrin, but it wasn't the worst thing ever. The dislike ratio for the reveal trailer isn't too bad. They were revealed in the same direct as Bayonetta, who distracted everyone at first by being a pretty cool addition, and then by being the bane of the game's existence when she was actually released. So yeah, everyone just kinda held their breath and hoped Corrin would be cut in the next game, myself included. Well, now here's something wild.
The wild? Whoa!
Chrom, the 7th Fire Emblem character, got revealed and nobody really complained. Except Kotaku, so let me rephrase that. No one of value really complained. I think everyone, even non-Fire Emblem fans, recognized that he was indeed snubbed from the previous game's roster, and it felt right to include him as a harmless Echo fighter. He went over nice and easy, and I thought that was really cool. And then Byleth happened. I'm just gonna say it. Byleth on paper was a good inclusion that was completely ruined by the circumstances surrounding said inclusion. First, it was a terrible decision to end Fighter Pass 1 with Byleth after you had 4 third-party inclusions. Sound familiar? It should. Second, the reveal trailer was awful. The worst one in Smash Bros. History by a landslide. Since this was a Smash broadcast and not a regular Nintendo Direct, it was immediately obvious that this was a Smash reveal and not Fire Emblem DLC or something, which makes the entire first minute and a half pointless filler. There's only like 20 seconds of gameplay before we're thrust into another minute-long cutscene. The crack So This Makes About Too Many Swordsmen was honestly kind of insulting and not that funny. They made a weirdly huge deal about female Byleth when that was already expected thanks to female Robin and Corrin. We get those terrible mouse click sounds when So This introduces the weapons. It's just a terribly paced, low-energy mess of a reveal trailer. The dislikes were immense and honestly kind of warranted given how tone-deaf this reveal trailer was. And yet, I don't think Byleth's reveal had to be a huge disaster.
No! Hi!
It was a fair amount of time after Three Houses came out, so it didn't feel like that much of an advertisement, even though it obviously still was. Three Houses sold really well, and it's considered one of, if not the best Fire Emblem game. It's practically unconnected from every other Fire Emblem game that came before, so it does feel like its own separate universe being represented. Can't say that for Fates. It brought a killer stage and some killer music, and yeah, overall Byleth is one of my favorite DLC newcomers gameplay-wise. I genuinely believe their status as the 8th Fire Emblem character and the final DLC newcomer in the game's first and originally only DLC pack is what sparked all this hatred. And I truly believe that a lot of this hatred could have been avoided if it wasn't for Corrin. Corrin is the Shrek the Third to Byleth's Shrek Forever After. Don't get me wrong, the Byleth reveal had a plethora of problems, as I said. But at the end of the day, if Byleth was the first true non-Echo Fire Emblem newcomer since Robin, I don't think the franchise would feel as oversaturated. No one complained about Robin. No one complained about Roy's return. Corrin was the step too far. Did I take a step too far? Yes. The inclusion that truly sparked the idea that Fire Emblem was overrepresented.
What the fuck?
As someone who defended the number of Fire Emblem reps in Smash, I still don't think Corrin was a warranted inclusion as one of these reps. Awakening and Fates both being represented just felt gratuitous given how Fates didn't really push the franchise forward like Awakening did. Think back to how Smash 4 just stuck with the Twilight Princess designs for its Zelda characters rather than using the Skyward Sword designs. It just didn't seem like a necessary update, while Breath of the Wild definitely needed to be represented because of its prominence to its home franchise. Three Houses feels like Fire Emblem's Breath of the Wild, not in a literal sense, but in terms of how it changes the formula and feels distinct from its predecessors. Thus, I think it deserves representation as the current modern version of Fire Emblem as a franchise, which is something Fates never really had a claim of considering how it just copy-pasted Awakening's ideas, graphics, mechanics, etc. And don't forget, the modern era of Fire Emblem that started with Awakening has seen 3 non-remake main installments, all of which got represented with fighters? What about all these other old games that have been left to rot? Why not cater to old and new fans by introducing Celica instead of Corrin? She came from the second Fire Emblem game ever, which recently got remade for the 3DS. She represents both eras of Fire Emblem, and she could make for a fairly easy echo of Robin, which I doubt many people would complain about because Echo. If we're ignoring echoes, you would only have 5 fighters: Marth, Ike, Roy, Robin, and Byleth. 3 classic, 2 modern, which seems like a fair balance, given how many more classic games there are than modern games. You're still representing most of the different eras, Famicom/Super Famicom, GBA, GameCube/Wii, 3DS, and Switch, without double dipping in the 3DS pool. And then, once you add the echoes in, bada boom, 4 classic, 4 modern. Perfectly balanced. as all things should be. And Celica is just one example. There's plenty of other classic beloved Fire Emblem characters that could be added as easy echoes like Lyn or Hector. I think what I'm trying to say is that Corrin is the reason we don't have world peace. He is a scourge upon humanity that must be purged from video games immediately in order for our society to function. Fire Emblem is not the enemy here, people. Corrin is and will always be our true enemy. So in conclusion, Fire Emblem has a pretty good spread of representation considering how many protagonists it has and how long it's existed and continued to exist. If Mother had this many games, it would probably also have 8 fighters who all play very similarly. I feel like the Fire Emblem characters are all distinct enough gameplay-wise to warrant separate inclusions, and the ones who aren't are either simple echo fighters or melee relics. Finally, Fire Emblem reveals are generally victims of bad timing and promotion that make them seem worse than they are. Except Corrin. They are the only legitimately bad inclusion, and they inadvertently contributed to some of Byleth's bad initial reception. The moral of the story is that Fire Emblem is one of Nintendo's best franchises, and I'm so tired of people saying they refuse to give it a chance because of its oversaturation in Smash. That is not Fire Emblem's fault. Three Houses is one of the best games on the Switch. Awakening is one of the best games on the 3DS. Fates and the original with Marth looks really good, and I'm excited to play it until March 31st, 2021 when it goes back in the Nintendo Vault. Fuck you for that. But yeah, seriously, play Three Houses. It's truly incredible, and Claude should be an Echo Fighter or Byleth. Okay, bye! And I'm back. See, I wanted to go swimming on Tortimer Island, which is a stage in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS, which Fire Emblem characters can be in, but unfortunately, there's a shark there, so I can't swim.
Oh my god!
I also cannot surf because Funky Kong is not playable. Damn. If only I could do something surf and shark related that was really good and could protect my online data. I've got it. Surfshark VPN. An incredible product that encrypts your data and protects you online. Surfshark VPN allows you to access geo-restricted content, meaning you can trick your browser into thinking you're in another country, thus allowing you to access content you couldn't get otherwise. That way you don't have to physically travel to another country to watch that country's exclusive Netflix content, for example. You can also use Surfshark and its HackLock system to get alerts anytime your email address or password is compromised. HackLock scans various databases of leaked information and notifies its users if their data is found so they can take action, which is an absolutely invaluable feature. Surfshark is also totally unlimited, meaning you can use it on as many devices as you like, even all at the same time. No other VPN allows this. Go to surfshark.deals/Rillis and enter promo code Rillis to get 83% off and 1 extra month of Surfshark VPN for free. It's an amazing deal, and it's even better because it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're not satisfied, you can cancel during those 30 days and get your money back. If you're looking for a great VPN, there's no reason not to give Surfshark a try. Once again, head to surfshark.deals/Rillis and enter the promo code Rillis. Have a great time with Surfshark VPN.